and welcome to the 4th episode of Tubi Trash, the show where we talk about terrible movies we watch on Tubi. My name is John Carl Barth. I am the founder of Neurokino Productions.
And I'm Darren Logue. I review video games and comics I collect and find interesting.
I'm Trent Nichols.
He's still feeling the effects of the movie we just watched. It was quite the film, if we can say so ourselves.
Red Zoom 727.
And I'm Shane McCarthy. I go by the stage name Snarky McCarthy on my YouTube channel, among others. And, well, glad to be back.
Okay, so we watched Shark Side of the Moon.
Protect the ship at all costs.
It's either us or them.
I'm going to get this out of the way. In terms of entertainment rating, I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10.
Alright, let's save that for the end,
Yeah.
because that means I have to edit in the little ding.
Okay.
And that's a lot harder to do than you'd think.
But I just had to get that out of the way.
Into the cockpit! They're about to break through!
Also, what's up with the waddling? What the hell was that?
Dude, it just looked like that. It looked like Jack Nut name Jack Job from the Muppets.
A collaboration between Tubi and the Asylum.
Yep. Just like Blind Waters, except this is objectively probably way worse than Blind Waters, but in terms of entertainment, like, way better than Blind Waters.
This is what we wish that Blind Waters was.
Yes.
The ironic enjoyment was endless and right from the get-go.
So, like, all you need to know is you need to, like, see the poster.
And that's
like,
all you need to know.
Yeah, for a little bit of background, the way we choose movies for this show is we have a whole, like, Google Doc with a list of a bunch of potential options. And then each time we just sort of spin a wheel, you know, we use one of those spin the wheel sites and just kind of pick at random. When this one came up and I saw the poster, what happened was initially when I texted, like, the group and said, hey, you want to do a Tubi Trash this weekend? Darren, you, Shane, said yes, and it was just you two. And then after the movie had been chosen, I texted the poster to the group like, alright, this is what we're reviewing. And that is when you, Trent, went, oh, I'm in. I'm so in.
Green across the board, Commander, and...
Is that Jennifer Coolidge?
Oh, watching like B monster movies like this, like terrible monster movies like this, it's one of my guilty pleasures. Oh my word, I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. So I was a little bit worried, honestly, that this wasn't going to live up to the poster, because, like, unfortunately, far too often there are movies that look like potential so bad it's good masterpieces going
Rogue
in
hostage.
that only end up being boring.
Yeah, because if you thought that the teaser of Shrek 5 looked ugly, which it did, then you have not seen the Shark Side of the Moon poster.
Oh, wow. I think I shouldn't have had those tacos.
Why do you have headphones?
Yeah, why do you have a single AirPod in your ear? But thankfully, this is exactly what you would expect
Yes.
going in. And,
Plus more.
and that's not even getting into the premise. So this movie is about...
The poster tells you everything you need to know.
Well, yes, but it gets even better once you learn what it's actually about.
The specifics.
So,
Specifics.
back in the
That was on
80s,
purpose.
the Soviets genetically engineered shark-human hybrids as a weapon to use in the Cold War, and then they send them to the moon.
After the sharks break out.
Yeah, the sharks, like, break out.
Yeah, it's an accident because they end up, unfortunately, getting a little too advanced for their own good. They end up basically circumventing all possible security measures, break out, cause chaos, and somehow that ends up with two Soviet scientists that are also able to speak English rushing into a space shuttle.
Yeah, for
By the
some
way,
reason,
I would like to also point out that this was all caused by a bucket that was thrown.
Is that how they? I don't know.
Yes, that is
that's right, I
legitimately-
remember.
A bucket was thrown and it hit one of one of the little lasers.
But I love
So
how
that's where Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe got the bucket idea.
I love how these guys' first response when these shark-human hybrids break out is, I know, let's fly into space to get away from them. Like, it is, to be fair, established that they have cosmonaut training, but still, like, the fact that that's your first idea is, I know, let's go to the space shuttle. And it doesn't fucking work. Like, one of them tries to, like, distract the sharks and dies. And the surviving guy and the sharks end up just going to the moon.
Yeah, and the guy that sacrificed himself even
We
got
have
one
no-
last cigarette to smoke while he's being killed.
And the
Honestly, I think he could have just climbed back into the cockpit and then they could have both survived.
And also the geography of that is like so baffling because they show in one scene that a shark is banging on the glass where the cockpit is. But yet when he opens the door out, no one's there.
I mean, it also shows a ladder.
Yeah, that too.
To get down.
And that blood splatter, like somehow it reaches to that when he's killed after that cigarette, it just reaches that window somehow. Like it's that large a range.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut to present day, and
Which
before I go any further, that is another pet peeve with this movie. Like, that's something that's honestly not even really so bad it's good, it's kind of just frustrating, is that for some reason, like, the title card, once we cut to present day, says, well, present day. Even though everything seems to indicate that it takes place in what's supposed to be, like, the near future. Like, the first thing we see is, like, a terrible CGI spaceship. From the outside, it looks all futuristic. The inside of it looks futuristic. The things they're... Well, it's clearly supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
The things they're wearing look like something out of Battlestar Galactica or some sci-fi show.
Or the... what was it? Starship Troopers?
Or Starship Troopers.
Grab Dog Samurai guy.
But point
Is that
is...
Starship Troopers?
I haven't seen it.
Point is... Everything about this looks like it was originally meant to take place in, like, the near future or something like that. And as a matter of fact, if they had said it in the near future instead of present day, instead of having that present day card at the beginning, a lot of things in the movie that didn't make sense would have made a lot more sense.
Yes.
Or at least would have been a little easier to believe.
Yeah, like, it would... Don't get me wrong, the movie is still absolutely nonsensical, but it would have been slightly less so. But anyway, so we cut to our... We see a futuristic spaceship at, like... They say it's in, like, Cape Cod?
Cape Canaveral.
Okay.
That's where Apollo 11 was launched.
Okay.
That's where the big space stuff launches.
Okay, I was confused because I didn't realize I didn't think there was a space station in Cape Cod.
Yeah, it's Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
Because of course it's in Florida.
Well, yeah, that's where the JFK Space Center is, isn't it?
I think so.
Like, the entire shot of this spaceship and, like, the whole rig that it's on, that it launches out of, is just CGI. No big surprise. This is that kind of movie. There's supposed to be, like, an audience watching the launch, like, in real life with a space shuttle launch. We see the audience, but we never see the audience and the ship in the same shot together, and that's because the audience is very obviously just stock footage. Part of the reason why it's so obvious is because it's, like... It looks way older than anything else in the movie. Like, it looks like this movie's from 2022, but it looks like something out of, like, 2005. Like, it was shot on some cheapo camcorder from back then or something.
How do you know it wasn't shot on a cheapo camcorder?
It probably was. That's my point.
No, maybe it could have been like some old news footage of like some random event, like not even like a shuttle launch, maybe kind of like for all I know, a concert.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
That
makes perfect sense.
They probably just, like, Google searched free crowd stock footage and went with the first thing they found.
Yeah, they
No watermark.
They probably just went on to Pixabay and found the first thing with no watermark.
The funniest part of that was when the thing launches and then they cut to a shot of the crowd clapping.
Yes, they just...
Like, they're clearly not actually clapping at the launch. Like, there just so happens to be a part of that footage where they're clapping and they're like, hey, might as well use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, the ship also does like first like this horizontal-esque ascension, and then another shot it starts going full vertical, which is not how that works.
I mean, okay, there's one thing I should get out of the way. There's one thing you and I kind of differ on this movie. You seem to be really bothered by, like, the scientific inaccuracies in the movie, and I'm just here like, okay, we're watching this movie about CGI buff sharks, and you're out here criticizing
Science.
the way gravity works, and, like, whether or not you need oxygen on the moon. Like, I think there are bigger, pun intended, I think there are bigger fish to fry here.
Ha ha ha.
But
I
no,
mean, I
but,
guess.
but seriously, like, this is not the kind of, like, were you expecting accuracy from this movie?
Yes.
Like,
Like, no, but
I'm kidding.
but these leaps,
I was
man,
not
is something that I just can't overlook.
I was not expecting accuracy the moment that the plot went to the moon.
I mean, yes, obviously it's like such immense leaps, but something about this in a way kind of almost bugs me, or becomes much more distracting if indeed such craftsmanship or lack thereof becomes so in your face.
I guess, but I feel like gross inaccuracies are just, like, par for the course for this type of movie. Like, it
Yeah.
really shouldn't even be surprising.
Yeah. Although some of the way, and even then they try to almost find their own in-universe workarounds of a handful, and they just get ridiculous.
Yeah, that I will give you, is that, like, they do actually try to come up with some explanations.
We have a satellite.
Like, they
And
basically...
all of them only make the problem worse.
Yeah, like, it'd be one thing if they just threw it all away and be a bit more, I guess, tongue-in-cheek and a bit more... But this is a bit more self-serious.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Destroyed our
And also...
coast.
But also they bring up things that either like don't really amount to much or just are kind of useless. Especially in the beginning, they talk about this alternate character, like this alternate like astronaut, and he never comes back into play. Like they use like
No,
Oh,
that-
yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh no, that was Michael.
Which
That
one
had
was,
to be Michael.
Which one was Michael?
The comic relief. The comic relief that
No.
sucked.
Wait, his name wasn't Michael, though.
Yes,
was
it was.
really.
I believe it was.
Then he just appears on the ship instantly like that.
Yeah,
I think
because
I kind of forgot about that character.
Like he's driving on that motorcycle. Like
Oh, that character?
yeah, like,
yeah.
Where it's like the slowest motorcycle ever.
Well, no, okay, no, that's not what's going on. What's happening is that, like, the shutter speed on the camera is such so that even if the wheel of the motorcycle is spinning fast, it doesn't look like it is.
Oh.
So, like, that even happens, like, with cars and stuff. That's actually more common than you think.
wah.
So,
they get to the moon.
well, before they get to the moon, remember what happens? Like, they somehow get, like, knocked off course. Did we ever get an explanation for that?
No.
No.
I think it has something to do with that
The
satellite.
sharks. I think it
Yeah.
has something to do with the electromagnetic waves in the
Yeah.
moon's atmosphere.
Like somehow through their land, like their terraforming efforts.
Well, we were joking that, like, because this is before the sharks, outside of that opening scene, this is before the sharks really come into play. So we were joking, like, as soon as the ship randomly just went off course and we didn't have much of an explanation, we just joked, like, did the sharks do it?
Yeah. What the?
My God.
Like how
Wait,
does-
is the moon's
Well,
gravitational pull alone doing that?
It doesn't look like a gravitational pull. It looked more like they hit a bump on
it's
the
like they hit
road.
like some sort of like some gigantic magnet or something.
There's no way it's causing this much interference.
Is it the sharks that did it?
That's what I was about to ask.
I guess the sharks
Is it
can
shark-
use the force.
Yeah, the sharks just.
And we never got an explanation. They never brought it up again.
I think it supposedly had something to do with that satellite, which, okay, slight tangent. None of us were sure how they could have possibly gotten a satellite all the way out to the moon.
To the dark side.
Yeah, specifically to the dark side of the moon with, like, current technology. And that's an example of, like, if you had said that this takes place in, like, the future, at a point where we might actually be able to do something like that, that would have solved that problem. But for some reason, they specifically needed to tell us that this was present day. So...
And also somehow destroying that satellite means they can't communicate with mission control, even though that's never how it was with previous Apollo missions up to that point.
Yeah. And they didn't just like this. They didn't just run into the satellite either, did they? Because like,
It looked like it.
Well,
is that supposed to be what happened?
I mean, it looks like they were like when they were like trying like with that like electromagnetic turbulence or whatever the hell that was. They ended up just like crashing into it within the moon's orbit. When it was like in the half of the moon's orbit.
Okay. I wish they had made that a little more clear.
That was the satellite. We won't be able to contact Mission Control.
Me too.
The way this movie is edited, like, you can never tell what's going on.
Yeah, especially loves to just jump. Like anytime it shows like a character moving to a location, they don't really show them moving in. They just show them in that location. The next shot.
Yes.
Okay,
We
so,
get to the moon,
yeah, they
and
like
all hell breaks loose.
so they like crash land on the moon, and the ship is, I guess,
totaled.
damaged, or it's not completely totaled. It's
No,
like,
it's
They say.
well, we're supposed to believe that it's totaled, but like the animation of the ship doesn't actually indicate that at all. Like it looks slightly damaged.
Well, the only thing really indicated damage, of course, is the technological stuff, like the calibrations and all the software damage. Like, there's never any indication on the CGI models that, because this is definitely an indication how cheap it is, that there's any sort of cosmetic damage or anything major to, like, the hull or anything along those lines. Anytime they ever show it, I mean, they keep it either as far from the camera as possible to avoid showing any sort of lack of textures popping out, or it's just not, you try to keep it away from the shot by reusing as much other CGI assets as possible.
So they go onto the moon's surface, they don their spacesuits and everything.
which the spacesuits don't even look remotely like spacesuits.
Yeah, they don't look. Which
Yeah,
again,
it looks more like actions
Yes.
spacesuits you'd see in one of those sci-fi.
It looks like a hazmat suit, essentially.
There's no semblance of like thickness or insulation.
Which again, you might have been able to explain away if you had set this in the future, like it was probably meant to. But all that gets ruined by that present day distinction. But so this is more or less when the first shark attack happened, right? So the first time we see any inkling of like the sharks, the first indication that they're there, what they try to do is they try to have, because obviously it's the moon, there's no water, but they try anyway to try and do the cliche where it's like the fins sticking out of the water. So what they do is they have them like burrow through the
Bugs
through the
Bunny
moon's-
style.
Yeah. And this is not a thing that the sharks do ever again in the movie. They just do it at the beginning.
Yeah, they don't.
it reminds me of the mole enemies from Mario Galaxy.
But the difference is those are moles. That makes sense.
These are sharks.
And also, Super Mario's Galaxy's environments are tailored have different
And-
types of environments and terrains.
What?
Yeah, meanwhile, this is just the moon.
A pile of rock.
So like the sharks basically burst out of the ground eventually, and there's a bit of a fight for a while, and it's hilariously bad. And eventually what happens is one of them gets stabbed like from behind and falls over, and we reveal two more major characters, those being the Soviet guy from earlier who's like 50 years older now or whatever, 40 years older,
Akuma.
Akula.
You remembered her name?
I mean, Akula's a much more unique name than anybody else has. in
Yes,
this movie,
her
to be
name is
fair.
Akula.
Yeah, and we haven't seen her before. We don't really know her deal yet. We do notice that they're wearing some interesting outfits.
Yes.
So they are.
They also
So they're both wearing like what appear to be wetsuits with like a Soviet symbol like just sort of welded on, and
An insular cannula.
So Sergey, who's the guy, he's wearing.
that's the most cliche Russian name ever.
Yes.
He's wearing like a medieval like
Chainmail.
hat that doesn't match anything else, and he has on like a breathing apparatus thing that goes up into his nose, which supposedly is what's providing him oxygen.
But the vacuum of space, it makes me wonder how his face is still intact.
Yeah, it's like everybody else, and it's like everybody else. Like, why? If that's all you need, why? Even if we accept that in this universe with its weird logic, that's all you need to survive in space. Why do the others need full spacesuits then?
The Algea.
Why is that even necessary?
And also, the source of it's like this makeshift source of algae. Like somehow that provides more oxygen than a pressurized oxygen tank.
Algae.
Ha ha.
Yeah, he pronounces it algae or algae or something like that. Even that, which, like, yeah, that's kind of how it's spelled, but English is weird and inconsistent. So,
Especially American English.
that's debatable. That's debatable.
Okay.
But
Bloody Americans.
So we are given an explanation as to why, or we already talked a little about Sergei, and his explanation is nonsensical. But this is why. So they first, before anything is said about why Akula can breathe, and she doesn't even have an apparatus. She's just like, her face is exposed and everything. So. Yeah, she turns around and we see a fin sticking out of her back through her clothes. And we find out that she is one of them. She's actually a shark-human hybrid who, for some reason, is literally the only one we see in the entire movie who's more human, who just looks like a human.
Who got the recessive human trait.
Yeah.
And also, like, they reveal that the sharks have built a sort of monarchical society, Sarina is.
All right, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll get there.
All right, carry on.
But trust me, that's. So we also find out that the sharks, basically, they've created a whole civilization on the moon,
complete with volcanoes.
Yeah.
They basically did some space seemingly have done some terraforming that has exposed magma, magma and all the volcanic areas to the surface of the moon.
And they've built a whole city, and they have technology and anything somehow.
Where this metal comes from, there can't be that much discarded stuff to build out of.
It's moonstone, obviously.
It would have been a lot nicer if there was a prequel that established the sharks building this civilization.
That would have made more sense.
No, it would definitely not.
Also, yeah, that would the way the asylum would handle it. It would probably only raise more questions.
Yes, okay. A lot more questions.
Okay, never mind then.
And just the concept of this alone raises questions.
So, we should also talk about the spears. Which they're all armed with spears that are basically just what appear to be PVC pipes painted silver with
cardboard.
A cardboard blade just taped on the end.
Or maybe some kind of silicone or rubber.
Yeah, at one point, Shane, you even pointed out
it wobbles.
Yeah, they wobble. They literally wobble.
And not just the blade. Sometimes even the actual the actual staff does too. And they use them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's not like they keep it up close. Sometimes they'll frame it in somewhat wide shots, so you can somewhat make out the imperfections, including the fake blood.
Also, I will say the animations with the. Never mind. Keep going.
Okay. Well, speaking of visual stuff, though, so I think that by this point, probably I've included enough movie footage in the video that you guys can get an idea for how terrible everything looks.
Can we please, God, can we talk about the visuals now?
That's what I'm doing. So I pointed out that basically there are only 2 actual sets in this movie, and one of them barely gets used. There's a little bit of this mission control area on Earth we see a couple times at the beginning and then never again, and there's the inside of the spaceship. Everything else is either stock footage, CGI, or the worst looking green screen you have ever seen in your life.
The compositing is truly something to behold.
It is so bad.
So, Neil Breen movies now, like, he shoots them almost entirely on a green screen. Like, those look better, honestly, I might even say.
Does that include also the one where he fights that CG tiger?
That's an older one, though. That's passed through, isn't it?
That sounds like fun. Is there a streaming service that has Neil Breen's movies?
I think you dropped your ring.
I don't know, but I've seen the footage of it from Fanboy Flicks, and it's pretty funny.
Oh, wait, and then there's the guy who gets captured and...
Oh, you mean Henry?
Henry, yeah, that was his name.
Yeah, I remember because I made a Thomas joke. Yeah, they need to save Henry. He's suffering dreadfully and no one cares.
What?
It's a Thomas reference.
And also,
Not his
it's actually
name.
spelled like
By the way, I caught that. That was a good
Henri.
one.
Yeah, they... In the
the
subtitles, they
captions.
spell it like Henri, like the French spelling.
But they pronounce it Henry.
But they, yeah. So, he gets, like, captured and by the sharks and, like, tortured for information or something, I guess. And that's where we meet the Tsarina.
They torture him by biting off his leg.
Then they use like some sort of tool that somehow they're able to create to cauterize the wound.
It acts like a sander.
Yeah.
And
of course, he's, like... So, okay, about that character, too. Like, this actor, for some reason, seems to be, like, smiling the entire movie, regardless of what's happening to him. Like, when his leg gets cut off, he just goes, "Ah, my leg!" Pretty much.
And remember, and this especially, and remember, they do a lot of close-ups of it, so it's not like you can see in the background. No, it's front and center for you to see.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's funny
And
as hell.
the two sharks we see him get tortured by, one of them is the aforementioned Tsarina. She is like, okay, so she convinced me that this might actually just be a fetish film, because she's like this oddly proportioned, feminine yet muscular looking, like almost kind of humanoid body with like a disproportionately sized shark head on top, and she's dressed in like a cut off top.
a weird spindly fingers.
Even nails.
She has like feminine curves, like she has a big ass that they linger on sometimes, which somehow ends up being less weird than in Devil Comes to Kansas City. And there's the fact that we see her like torture this guy, which makes me think that, oh, this guy's like into like furry femdom or something like that.
No, but that's scaly, dude.
Or scaly, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The fact that we know this is very telling.
we're all chronically online. It's anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next like major plot point? I'm drawing.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I think my brain,
Oh wait, no,
my
the
brain
people.
is fried.
Oh wait, no. Rose Byrne goes out. Rose
yeah.
Byrne and
Discount
other guy go out.
Discount Rose Byrne.
Oh yeah, that does happen. Yeah.
They go outside and
And they get killed.
yes,
Yeah, I remember.
and then the idiots in the ship, they've heard. Yeah, let's don't use the electromagnetic pulses. The sharks can tell.
And what do you think they do?
Well, they also
Nicole, come here, come in.
They also never really explained why the sharks can sense electromagnetic pulses.
That's why I don't trust gingers.
They've never said anything about their abilities, including how they're able to breathe on space, and of
Wait a
course...
minute.
Something. Okay, yeah, I forgot to explain that. So, for some reason, the sharks can just breathe in space. Like they say, they specifically say at one point, like about Akula. So how come you can breathe here? And then she goes, "I'm one of them," and shows off her gills.
that
And-
doesn't make any
Just
sense.
breathe.
Yeah, why does that mean she can breathe in the vacuum of space?
Because here's the thing, like, you know what gills, that water, there is oxygen in water, right? And what
Yeah.
gills are supposed to do, correct?
So,
You can tell they didn't have it. You can tell that the budget, that the hiring a scientific expert is not what was on the menu. But even so, come on, such
Yeah.
oversights like that are ridiculous.
The menu.
They also open a hull door, but those idiots never close it, even when there's a threat attacking them.
They close the whole door, and then decide, hey, let's leave it on for the rest of.
Yeah.
Let's leave it open for the rest of the film. That was the big thing I was getting onto them about.
yeah, literally.
Close the door.
Every time they cut back to the ship, we see the gate to the ship wide freaking open, and we're just like, this would all be so much. This would get solved so quickly if you would just close that fucking door.
Yeah.
It won't kill you to close the door, but it will kill you to keep it open.
There's also another thing about the sharks. we see them burrowing once. They're mostly running, but they also mention in dialogue that they have rovers, and the only time we ever see them on rovers is when they're parked outside of the ship ready to attack in one specific shot.
Speaking of inconsistencies about these sharks,
Like they I mean, they also reproduce.
there's the reproduction stuff, which
Yes.
which we'll get to.
Yes,
But-
please.
But there's another thing I forgot to say about the whole Tsarina scene. So she's like the only one that can talk. Her and Akula, but she doesn't count. The others just kind of roar, and for some reason, like the Tsarina can speak full sentences.
And on top of that, speak both English and Russian.
I guess because she's the
And
leader.
somehow the sharks seem to like get almost like I think she like at points feel like actually like give commands, like verbal commands to her warriors, and they actually responded to them.
And like, why was that? That's just such a weird detail. Like, why? And there's also and there's also the other shark that she's with in that scene. Remember the one with
Scar.
the one with the bra?
Yes. It was a he.
A man, brah.
Wait, that was supposed
That was
to be a
supposed
guy.
to be a dude.
It looks. That's what the proportions seem to suggest.
I thought it was supposed to be just like a butch lady.
John Carl, I
What?
think you can add this to your fetish theory.
Fair enough.
Что мы будем делать с ним, ваше высочество?
Нам нужен их корабль. Он большой, мы его заставили на вынужденную посадку.
Regarding this Tsarina thing, because obviously when you think of Tsar, Tsarina, it seems like almost like they have like this sharks suggest like this hierarchical structure of society, but that's never entirely like definitively established. Because I mean, she's the only one that seems to have any sort of intelligence, the Tsarina, but the rest seem to be some kind of like hulking idiots and brutes.
Homers.
Yeah, I don't. It boggles the mind. So,
I mean, I remember there like being like I can't remember what it was called, but there was a 2D animated French film that actually had that reminded me of something similar, like involving like advanced cat hybrids of sorts. And that one, it was a bit silly, but they at least put more effort into regarding hierarchy and society within their own respective specific mutated species. It was a lot more believable and made a lot more sense.
okay, I know you said it was
called Flow.
I know you said it was a French animated film, but all I could think of when you described that was the musical Cats.
No. I know one of the actors.
Anyway.
I know one of the VAs. It could probably help me, but while we just continue on.
Okay.
I love the moon. I can't wait to go storm the X-Nauts fortress.
I got that reference.
Found it. April in the Extraordinary World.
I've heard of that.
There's a plot point regarding, I guess, like cat hybrids. It's been so long since I've seen it, but that one, when in that context, they made it a lot more believable internally. So take that.
What were we
Sharks.
talking about again?
Sharks.
Sharks.
We were talking about a movie.
I
film
want
that-
to tell you this. The different sharks they use are both amazing and so bad.
They were
the
amazingly bad.
The models and the animation in this are just like
Jaw-droppingly bad.
God tier cringe.
Yes.
Even the Tsarina in particular, even she like when she's not talking, like whenever there's a shot of her just doing something, her mouth is just like hanging open, like she's just going.
It's almost like her mouth is like stuck in like in the T
Huh?
like the T pose section like setting.
Yes.
But everything else was anime for some
Just
reason,
like-
because hey, you gotta save money somehow. And of course, there are so many reused animations and shots.
I want to also.
You could turn it into a drinking game.
I would also like to point something out. One of my favorite models was the Hammerhead.
Oh God.
My god, that was so bad.
There's also that whale shark, and they barely use it for anything.
No, that was Jeff.
Haha.
Although the whale shark does actually play an important role in the ending.
Yeah.
Which is
It's absolutely stupid. Even compared to the stupidity, to the nonsense beforehand, it's something special.
It totally
By
feels
comparison.
like an asylum climax.
It's so damn ridiculous. It also spits in the face of the idea. Oh yeah, it takes like 3 days to get to the moon traditionally, but no, they can just get to the moon Like they can get to the moon through that ship in the beginning in just a matter of at a couple minutes, but with the climax, seconds.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. all in due time.
Yes.
Well, okay. So one other thing I've been thinking about that I don't think I ever really said out loud as we were watching it, but one thing I've kind of been thinking about regarding this movie. So, one thing I did mention out loud while we were watching it is that, like, ridiculous shark concept movies are kind of the Asylum's bread and butter because, like, obviously Sharknado and other similar ones.
Like Blind Waters.
Well, okay, but that's more a standard shark movie. That's not one where the premise is just inherently...
It's humanoid sharks.
This one just goes more. This one basically tries to do more than just follow the Jaws formula bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
But my point is... So Sharknado gets criticized a lot for being, like, really not even so bad it's good because it was very clearly trying to be, like, a wink wink nudge nudge bad on purpose movie, whereas actual so bad it's good movies tend to be, like, doing their thing in earnest.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell, honestly. Maybe it's the autism and the fact that I am not really great at sensing irony, but, like, this movie seemed to be as sincere as possible.
Exactly. I can't tell if
but that's
like
what
it
made it
tries
all the better.
Like I think it's like almost in a way like there's like some degree of understanding, but they at least but they're trying to offer some sort of legitimacy to it. I guess maybe for some kind of ironic enjoyment or some kind of I don't know. I mean, we don't have the directors sitting next to us, so we can't really read their brains.
Right.
But so really, it's just a guessing game. Like they did it. Like indeed, they were that deluded, or they were just trying to think of maybe let's just like maybe we could try. Maybe we can get some fun out of trying to play it straight as much as possible.
Well, maybe next time we can call over the director to watch the film with us, and he
Directors
can
or
explain.
two.
Yeah, this was co-directed by two people.
Yeah.
I wonder if they did anything
That's something
else.
fresh for this channel.
Clearly the next Coen brothers. No.
More like the next
Wachowski sisters.
More like the next Seltzer and Friedberg.
Honest to God, they do actually remind me more of the Wachowskis than of the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
The
Like,
quality of the CG is, like, basically on par with Speed Racer.
Yeah, well, like the
the Speed Racer was pretty good.
But people
the
like Speed
Wachowskis-
Racer, though.
Yeah,
That's
the
the thing.
Wachowskis' layer work. I'd say it feels more like Matrix Resurrections
That too.
in terms of the story.
I honestly,
Revolution was worse in my eyes, but whatever.
I really don't fully understand the Speed Racer reevaluation that's going on. I still think it's just a bad movie. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Let's not get...
Its color palette just hurts my eyes.
But the Speed Racer movie had a Lego toy line.
All right, what? You think I was obsessed with that movie as a kid? You think I didn't know that? Anyway, getting off topic. Yeah. Is there even a point in describing the rest of the plot? Like
for such a bizarre concept, it follows so many cliches.
They blow up the moon.
All right, let's get. So, okay, you want to just describe the ending real quick?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
No.
So, there's this big final battle scene, you don't need to know the details, where the surviving members of the crew all get, like, they're... Okay, so first of all, the fight scene is obviously terrible, but it's even worse than the rest, because we hardly ever actually see the humans and the sharks in the same shot.
I gotta confess something, I couldn't tell what was happening.
Well, of course you couldn't. It was
and especially,
terribly edited.
It's also a case of just misleading because they set this idea that's gonna be like this big, large-scale battle, but literally it's just all the human actors going against this recycled animation of the shark, and even sometimes the occasion of like somehow like a Tsarina throwing.
All right, let me make my point though. Literally, basically, all it consists of is we see a shot of the humans using their terrible-looking spears going like this, and
then attacking the same hammerhead shark.
Yeah, and we cut to a shot of the shark, and it does... Literally, sometimes it jump cuts between the exact same angle of the exact same model doing the exact same animation twice in a row.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't even cut... They don't even...
A couple of times, it also mirrors.
Yeah.
It's
Same
right.
also with this one animation of the Tsarina throwing humans into the whale shark's mouth.
Yeah, okay, that part is... Okay,
that part is brilliant.
Getting back...
I couldn't tell that they were humans until they landed back on Earth.
Getting back to the ending, the giant whale shark appears again, and the Tsarina, one by one, as they're trying to fight her off, takes them and just yeets them into the mouth of the whale shark.
Yeah, that's one that they mirror in some of the
3
shots.
times.
They use that same animation like every time one of them gets thrown.
like 3 times. And I
More
love
than
it.
that, because it's like the whole surviving crew. It's like 4 or 5 of them, isn't it?
No.
Only 3 landed back on Earth.
Just
that's right,
Just
that's
the
right.
3 surviving ones.
So Sergei has this like
Brilliant idea.
nitrous oxide that he uses for farming or something that's like theoretically also able to create an explosion, but he never did that for obvious reasons. Now, that probably would have helped earlier in the movie, and they acknowledge that by having a horribly 80-yard line where he says, "I can't believe I didn't think of that earlier." Like, not as a joke. They literally just straight up realized in post, like, oh wait, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he was like, I could have done that the whole time.
So this explosion only really works after they've all been thrown into the mouth of the whale shark. And what happens is, like, basically the moon explodes and the whale shark's body gets, like, molten. And
But it becomes like calcified or like solidified into like a
Yeah.
husk.
Yes.
Somehow
And-
this protective husk.
and the explosion, like, yeets it all the way back towards Earth in a matter of seconds, and it lands in the ocean.
And then there's a raft.
Out come our heroes, fully intact, not at all chewed or processed.
On
with
a raft.
On a raft that they apparently had with them the whole time.
Yeah, so basically,
Like this.
the leader shark throwing them into the whale shark's mouth saved their lives.
Oh, and based on what happens next, now would be a perfect time to bring up the whole reproduction thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Please.
it's mentioned at one point that so at one point somebody says something along the lines of these sharks can reproduce asexually, but it's all really vague. Like I was wondering, like, if they reproduce asexually, why do they have like male and female dichotomy? What I think they were trying to go for is they can reproduce either sexually or asexually, because at the end we see Akula. She acts as though she's like going into labor or something, and basically one of them asks, "Wait, did you have sex with one of the sharks?" And she's like, "No." And then she points out, like, "Oh right, they can reproduce asexually." So I'm guessing what they meant for it to be, I wish they had been more clear, but I'm guessing what they meant for it to be is it can be both.
Hey, does this mean that she's this universe's equivalent to the Virgin Mary?
Stop.
Do not make me.
Stop.
She doesn't cure blindness though.
Well, I mean, not in this movie.
So she has a shark baby.
Nobody sing Baby Shark.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I never thought of that.
She just jumps in the water.
She just jumps in the water for
give-
seemingly
and then-
no reason.
And then
To give birth to more.
yes,
And they all surround the
raft.
And then here's the very last part of the movie. We cut to discount Charlize Theron, and she goes,
You're so fucked.
and then cut to credits. Which is weird because it's a TVMA rated movie. So
That
why?
is why I came into this
were they-
crying.
Were they planning to pick up where they left off in a sequel?
Oh yeah, the first they make a sequel, and the very first line is.
But it also brings up another thing regarding this character's like morality, because they just seem to just like throw. So it's just always fluctuating. Like,
Well-
she never seems to have like pick a consistent path, or like they just seem to be almost like seems like she wants to contradict herself.
Well, I think what it is, because for the most part, she's pretty unambiguously on the side of the humans, like even going so far as one point to challenge the Tsarina and, reprimand her for what she's doing. But at this point, I guess she just randomly decides to become a villain.
Either that, or maybe afterwards she popped up back into the waters and told all her babies, "Stop trying to eat my human friends."
You would think she would do something like that, but
Again, we'll have to see if they make a sequel that picks up where things left off.
Even then, but also like there's this indication that like killing like shark fetuses that are somehow able to be incubated on the moon like is too far. But again, it just brings up more questions regarding what specifically her morality is.
Well, I mean, like, because they say, like, they try to... Yeah, there's a part where they consider, like, basically killing a bunch of shark fetuses, like you said. And, like, one guy, you know, and their justification is, like, they're a bunch of future killers, basically. We'd be doing people a lot of good. And then Akula is like, What? No, these are babies. They're innocent. They haven't done anything wrong yet. We can't just murder babies. And that dilemma is never really... Like, it's, I guess, an interesting moral dilemma, but it's never really solved or addressed again.
Yeah, we see that...
It's just this random idea of, like, wanting to soapbox.
Yeah, and we see that her shark babies have murderous tendencies right out of the womb.
So this entirely pointless debate.
Were they was that trying to be, like, a statement on abortion or something?
I have no idea.
Weird things have happened.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that. So...
Are we...
Yeah, I don't have anything more to say.
Are we ready for our ratings?
Are you guys ready for your ratings?
Get some friends together and have some fun.
Yes. Please.
All right, so I'd say in terms of objectively good, 2. Now, in terms of so bad it's good entertainment, I'm actually going to go 9. And I say that because there is one other movie that I consider to be the absolute gold standard of so bad it's good, which I will not reveal right now because we should probably do an episode on it at some point. But rest assured, yeah, for now, 9 out of 10.
And as I said, I gave it a 10 out of 10 in terms of so bad it's good entertainment. And we'll see if your suggestion, the one you're saying is gold standard, ends up topping this movie. But in terms of like this being a legitimately good movie, I'm gonna like maybe say 3.5.
I'm gonna. So oddly enough, I'm going to side with IMDb. The Rotten Tomatoes score on this, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't matter, but I saw it. Rotten Tomatoes, 71%.
Really?
On Rotten Tomatoes,
from audiences,
but a 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb from audiences.
Okay, that makes a lot. Of sense.
I would say in terms of so bad it's good, this is a solid 8, maybe bordering on a 9. But in terms of like a good movie, it's not. It's not a good movie. It's like it's like a 4 at best.
Shane.
So for me, objective, 2 out of 10. Ironic enjoyment, 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm taking it to 9.
Exact same as me. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yes, definitely for fans of So Bad It's Good movies, this is a hidden gem in that category.
Please.
Definitely go watch it. It is God tier.
It is. I came literally whenever we started this recording, I was crying. That's how much it made me laugh.
So, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you all for watching. Until next time. I'm not gonna say keep on Tubi trashing. That's stupid. What was your catchphrase? You made it. You came up with a much better one. Tune in to next time we dive into the dumpster or something like that.
Something like that.
All right. Tune in for next time we dive into the dumpster of Tubi trash.
No ding decline. Wow.
That's the first time I ever heard of such a concept.
Especially for a shark movie.
Haha. I mean, I'm all for not ripping off Jaws, but come on.
The great part about this show being about movies on Tubi is that we also get to riff the ads.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yo, rooms to go.
I have good memories of not going there and going to IKEA instead.